Get testing, Dan.
And it's all sorts of weird stuff
I got a
going
lot
on.
more out of it.
I mean, I really like the arc and the establishment.
you
It's
reckon?
so big you can't comprehend it.
Now that we haven't got any line of duty, and
We haven't
therefore
got any weeklies.
life is.
Well, we do.
Well, you two do. Me and Elliot don't, because we haven't watched Clone Wars. So.
Yeah.
You haven't. You haven't got. You're not up to date with Bad Batch.
I don't,
No.
don't have any context to watch it from, so no, I haven't bothered.
Okay.
Well, I don't mind. I'm not worried about
Yeah,
spoilers.
go ahead. Talk
Talk
about
about
it.
it.
Well, it's not exactly spoilers because we've all seen Star Wars Episode 3 and 4, so it's
Yeah,
kind of
we know the general arc. It's just the Clone Wars details.
it just contextualizes it.
So
So
the first two episodes are out now, aren't they? Remember?
Yep.
Yeah, seen both of them, and yeah, love it. I mean, I watched a bit with. I rewatched it with episode 1 with Roosh, and obviously he's giving me all the kind of cross stories and links and characters, and so it has Kanan from Star Wars Rebels in it, I think.
Yeah.
And it looks completely different, but is the same voice actor, I think. But yeah, I love it. It's just great. I mean, I think the way they've weaved it into the concept of Order 66 is really good. And the way that the Bad Batch kind of had a bit of a kind of fracture and a split over it. Can't fault it. Loved it. Sam?
Oh well, I like Kanan because his voice doesn't match like the character on screen. He's a little small character. He's got this deep, like big man voice. That was hilarious. I like the fact that it was like an extended episode, and it was kind of like Order 66 kind of happened off screen. Also, they did like some kind of flashbacks just to remind you, and they recreated a couple of shots from episode 3 exactly, but with the animation.
Really?
That was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of scenes on Grievous's the invisible hand, and then him like doing time to abandon shit. I love that bit. Also, I like a little detail that I really like is all the Disney Plus shows that they're doing now have the little like the little kind of Star Wars flash up thing like they do on the Mandalorian with all the kind of just before the actual thing starts.
Yeah.
They've done it for this one, but they've got different characters. So on the Mandalorian, it was like Darth Vader.
Bruce pointed that as well. It's like, geez.
Yeah, I thought it's like you got Grievous.
That light passing.
Cool.
Yeah. So actually, it's showing characters from that era, which I just thought was really really interesting. So I thought that was very cool. But yeah, so one weird thing that I noticed on a purely technical level is it seemed like some of the sound design was unfinished. So there's a couple of scenes where it just felt like they hadn't really finished the ambient sound, and it felt like placeholder. So they'd be speaking, and the background sounds really quiet, and it just sounded really unnatural. So there's a bit where the Bad Batch is like walking down a hallway with a load of people walking either side, and like loads of stuff going on, and it was almost as if like they were everyone else was like tiptoeing past and nothing, and they were speaking really loudly, even though what they were talking about, I'm pretty sure no one was supposed to hear. So it threw me off a little bit, those first bits, but it seemed to kind of ease into it better. Obviously, big fan of the Clone Wars animation style, and actually one of the cool things is that it started out with the Clone Wars, and then it dissolved into the Bad Batch, which I thought was really cool. Like the fact that it had a massive long episode to kind of get you interested. And then kind of set up their position. So it's not telling yet another story in between 2 and 3. It's like a couple of weeks and months after episode 3. So you've still got all the clone troopers, and they're starting to talk about switching to recruits and conscription. You've got Tarkin, who has these giant thighs. It's hilarious. I don't know if
What?
Big Tarkin.
Yeah, it's Tarkin and his thunder thighs. Big Daddy Tarkin. Anyway, so I just thought that was really
Thunder thighs, that's a name.
But one of the things I'm liking is it's referencing the inhibitor chip that they've got, which was discovered a lot in the 6th season, I think, of Clone Wars, and obviously they mentioned it again in season 7. So it's quite cool that a lot of them still didn't know about it, and they're like, hang on a second, and then like the smart guy, I can't remember his name now. Who's the really clever one? Chief or
the techie one.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
And he was just like, yeah, it's kind of obvious that they have an inhibitor chip, and all the other guys are like, oh yeah, okay, that kind of makes sense actually. Fair enough. And and that's that. But yeah, no, it's cool. I'll be interested to see where they take it. I like the fact that
they made Crosshair into the bad guy as well.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming actually, because I liked him in the season 7 of Clone Wars episode that they did with the Bad Batch. I quite liked seeing him in that one. So it was interesting that they turned him into kind of the antagonist of the show. And I like the fact that they are still referring to old Clone Wars storylines. So obviously they went back to the clone who went, I think it was Felucia, and then he's married one of the Twi'leks, and so they got kids and stuff. I quite like that. And then there was a bit of the clones are like, you sound real familiar, and then they just get distracted by something else, and he's like, onto the ship we go, and just kind of run away now. And then there's mentions of Captain Rex. So I mean, given the fact that D. Bradley Baker is voicing about 70% of the characters, they're all clones anyway. So he's basically carrying the whole bloody show, which is hilarious. And then there's one point where because he's the voice of Klaus from American Dad, the little fish. And there's a point where you can kind of hear it. So sometimes, because he's doing, with the Bad Batch, he's doing slightly different voices, because obviously they're all... And there's one, I think, again, the smart guy, the techie guy, he does sound a little bit like Klaus, just less of a German accent. It was like, hang on a second, what's going on here? Yeah, so I'm impressed. I'm keen to see where it goes. It's still definitely got a slightly more childlike audience, like whereas Mandalorian's a bit more grown up. But I can see it's still going to, like, for instance, season 7 of Clone Wars, which, you know, if you guys watch nothing else, the final 4 episodes of season 7 basically are a parallel to episode 3, and the only, it might be worth, you don't necessarily need to watch every Clone Wars episode to like appreciate the characters like Ahsoka and all those guys, but they're okay. Well, you can, if you've never seen it, you can watch. There's a couple of websites which tell you like the key episodes to watch to like kind of get into it, and especially
all of Clone Wars, all of Rebels.
I won't be watching Rebels. I might watch Clone Wars one day, but I can't be asked for it.
Yeah,
Really brave. What was the season after Rebels?
Oh, that stupid cartoon thing.
No one cares.
Yeah, thank you.
Show some dedication.
Well, no, I mean, like, you tried to make me watch. I was like, this is so dull. No.
So for the only thing I can compare this to is watching Avatar, the original Avatar series. Watch that, great. Legend of Korra, can't be doing with that. Can't be bothered. I know it's supposed to be really good, and I've seen it, and it's meant to be very good, but I can't bother with it because Avatar finished, ended, and I was like, yep, that's done. I like where that character story has ended. Don't need any more. So if I was going to watch Clone Wars, I'd do the same thing. I'd watch Clone Wars and I'd be like, right, Rebels.
But I wouldn't, honestly, I wouldn't watch all of, personally, I wouldn't watch all of Clone Wars, because actually some of because have you seen the Clone Wars film?
Sadly, yes.
Yeah, but yeah, that's my thing. So season 1, it's kind of finding its feet. Season 2, there's like a lot of contained storylines, like four episode arc storylines.
Yeah, it takes
so
a while
it's
to
actually
start, doesn't it?
well, what it's worth doing is basically finding out of between season 2 and 6 which are like the key character arcs to watch. So you don't have to watch the whole lot. There's a few episodes of season 2. Season 3, there's a few bits. Season 4 and 5 is really interesting because there's this whole kind of who done it and people being framed thing. That's really interesting. And the final episode of season 5 is some of the best Star Wars I've seen, legitimately. But and actually, to be honest, season 7 of the Clone Wars, you almost don't need to watch the first half, because there's this whole thing which there's a couple of characters who are like sisters who are just the most pointless characters in the whole thing. They are useless. But then you get the final 4 episodes of season 7, which is so good, and it runs along episode 3 so well. Me and Joel rewatched those episodes again recently, and it's like you got a little 2-hour movie that's been basically, whilst Anakin's off, slicing children, you've got
as you do,
as one does,
and not having the high ground. You've then got Ahsoka. You basically go. I'll finish up and say you want to watch enough Clone Wars episodes to appreciate and see the development of Ahsoka, which you don't have to watch all of the episodes because there's a lot. Just enough to appreciate and understand the character, and then just get to those final 4 episodes of season 7, because it really is like the most amazing companion piece to episode 3, and actually contextualizes certain bits and actually makes you appreciate that episode that much more. So and then they actually weave in like sound bits from the actual film rather than having voiceovers. So it's a really cool, yeah. So especially with the whole Palpatine and Mace Windu fight, and like don't listen to him, Anakin, and you know being zapped with against his purple lightsaber. So they weave in a lot of bits. So that's what I'd recommend. I'm sure I'll find a website which will tell you guys, you know, which episodes are worth watching if you just kind of want to skim through it. But I don't feel compelled to watch the whole.
Who hasn't watched Clone Wars yet?
I'm guessing.
No, I haven't.
Three,
I watched the first 4 episodes and I bounced straight off it because I was just like, that's a bit too young audience for me, or something about the way it was structured and created. I was like, I know there's more depth in this show, but I couldn't get into it enough to want to persist.
I mean, if you want all the lore, you got to watch all the.
Well,
stuff.
then you'd have to watch it all. Yeah.
Yeah, season 1 it has its moments. It's quite weak, if I'm honest. I think, you know, if you want to get into the stuff where they actually cater both for adults and kids, and so you can appreciate
it. It's just character art stuff, really. I was really missing that. I know Ahsoka's meant to have like this really good journey, and it just felt like all of them come across as very one-dimensional and a bit petulant. Yeah. I was a bit like, ugh.
They are, and that's the thing. They do that in season 1. The character.
I know she's designed to be hated at the start. I mean, Filoni's sort of talked about she's meant to go through this big transition, but I really even like the fact. The other characters, the characters that you meant to like already, I was just like, no.
They're a bit obnoxious. So you kind of want to skip the kind of the bits where they're trying to find their footing and just kind of watch a few bits just so you know what's going on, and then kind of go, okay, well, I kind of because it's only a 2.5-year period between 2 and 3, and they fit in a lot because there's a lot of parallel stories. But there's some amazing scenes in season 4. Season 2 has a good arc, especially towards the end. And season 3, so I'm sure there'll be websites which will tell you the ones that are worth watching and ones that are not. Because even in season 5, there's this obscenely long arc of these droids, and it's awful. It's this little kind of tiny irritating character, and they're just kind of off on this kind of cute journey.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I think C3PO is not there. I don't think but it's R2D2 and a bunch of other astromech droids. And,
I was just wondering whether they got the idea of like being the intro to episode 4, you know, where they have the 2 droids go off in the desert of Tatooine, and they were like, well, let's make this into a whole arc.
They kind of do it a little bit, but it would be better if there wasn't this irritating little alien who just has got this kind of weird, kind of like Italian American sidekick kind of character going on.
Sounds amazing. What are you talking about?
It's
really, these goddamn droids, god damn it.
It's really, really not. It's one of my least favorite arcs. But then you've got this amazing arc that follows it. So yeah, I'll find some articles, and so you can kind of skip the crap and just watch the good stuff, and then get to season 7.
I feel like I'll end up watching it and love that bit, and be like, Sam, why don't you like it?
I mean, look, if you love it, great. All I want to do is I want to get you guys enjoying enough of it to go, yes, I'm glad I watched that. I've done that now. And, you know, because otherwise it can be a bit of a drag in places, but then other places it's like, this is so worth it. So.
Okay, cool.
Anyway, should we move on from Star Wars now?
Yeah, right. Sure. You guys talk about something before I bring up Hannibal later.
Anything else? Oh, I don't know if I mentioned last week we finished good old Fortitude. Did I talk about that last week?
You said something about it. I don't know if you.
I think I had last episode to go. So yes, we watched the last episode, and it was as bizarre, gory, frustrating, weird, and inconclusive as the rest of the series. So
is that the last episode ever, or is that just like the current?
Well, I think so, because the last season was only 4 episodes. So I think they just rounded it off.
And you're still confused.
Yeah, it's basically about the sheriff Sheriff Dan, going out and killing lots of people.
Oh,
that
cool.
was kind of
that sounds like our Dan.
That's the sort of thing I would do. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, that was. I mean, I still recommend Fortitude. It's just, I mean, it's gloriously weird and unexpected.
It sounds like a very disgusting version of Twin Peaks.
Yeah, I was thinking. I never saw Twin Peaks, but I've seen bits of it.
Oh, mate, Twin Peaks is great.
Yeah.
I love Twin Peaks. Oh my goodness.
So you might enjoy Fortitude then. So I would recommend it cautiously.
All right. Cautiously.
But the other thing we watched is the new thing on Amazon, Leonardo, about Mr. Da Vinci.
Is that with our pal Aidan Turner?
Yeah.
No. See, maybe we should watch that.
Boy.
And it was good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, it wasn't anything. I mean, after Fortitude, it was a bit of kind of.
I think that's what you might need after that.
But it was good, and it's very well made, and I really enjoyed it. You know, I thought it was good. I wouldn't, you know, a solid 7 out of 10, probably.
All right.
Fair enough.
But yes, we've now started, you know, looking for something else to watch on a regular basis. So see, you know, we've now started Hannibal. Episodes in, and I knew it wasn't going to disappoint, but having Miles Mickelson and
Lawrence
Fishburne in the I mean the guy who does the kind of
Will Graham.
Yeah, Will Graham. He's
Hugh Dancy. He's actually British as well.
Yeah.
What's the weird thing about that? Did any of you ever see the King Arthur film from about 2004?
Yeah.
Which one was that?
That was the one with
Keira Knightley in it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that film had Mads Mikkelsen and Hugh Dancy in it, and it's so it was a weird throwback.
Yeah,
so they knew each other.
Mads Mikkelsen's in that. Bloody hell.
Yeah. And he's the guy with the Raven, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like the Scott guy. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember you and me used to like that because there was like Dagonet, and then it's got who's the other bloke? Is it Vinnie Jones?
It's got Clive Owen in it. He's played.
Yes.
Arthur.
But who's the one with all the kids and just gives them numbers?
Yeah, Boars. Oh bloody hell! It might be Vinnie Jones. I can't remember, but it's some big Cockney guy. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. I always remember that film. But sorry, yes, going back to Hannibal. Obviously, Mads Mikkelsen is my absolute man crush. So, how many episodes did you say you'd seen so far?
I think we've done episode 1 and 2 so far. Not sure.
Okay, yeah. So it's what do you think of the cinematography? Because that's one of like the really gorgeous things about it.
I love the way it's shot, the way it looks. Yeah, it's very nice, and the way they kind of, you know, play a little bit with the effects, like when Will is, you know, is replaying stuff. I think it's quite interesting. You know, there's some interesting and new stuff, you know, that they're using to just represent some of what's going on. But yeah, it's like bloody hell. Minnesota is full of psychos.
You got Shrike, you got Garrett Jacob.
The mushroom bit was, I think that might be episode 3 actually. The mushroom bit was the one. It was like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and it's the chemist, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That, and then he shot the policeman, and then, oh man, there's a lot of very interesting characters in there. But I think one of the things
I don't know what's going on.
One of the things I said in the last exit group was it makes cannibalism look delicious, like the way they're showing
and the way they show every time he's got some round dinner, they always focus on the meat bits, and you're thinking, I wonder what that is or who that is, because he's going, oh, this is nice, it's pork loin. Yeah, right, okay.
Which I think the thing is, you're never going to truly know, but there's one. It's not really a spoiler, but there's one bit when he often has Lawrence Fishburne's character, so he plays I can't remember his name now, Jack something. So he was head of the FBI. So he's in the film. He's the guy who got Clarice Starling to go and speak to Hannibal. So Jack Crawford. There we go. That's his name. So that's the kind of guy he plays. But he often has him around for dinner. And then I think there's one point where he's saying, "Oh yeah, it's Rabbit this time." And there's a little flash of some poor guy running away in the woods. It's like, okay, so that's not Rabbit then, is it? But yeah, it's a really great show. Season 3 gets a bit kind of wild. I like season 3, but it's a bit kind of, you've got who the guy who played Thor in The Hobbit? I've forgotten his bloody name now.
Oh, Armitage, whatever his name
is.
Yeah,
Richard Armitage.
That's the one.
Yeah, so if any of you have ever seen, because obviously, Elliot, we watched Silence of the Lambs in film studies, didn't we?
Yeah.
Did you ever watch any of the other films around it, like Red Dragon?
Yeah, I saw Red Dragon. I don't know about any of the others. I haven't watched them if there are.
Well, I wouldn't. Well, okay, so Hannibal Rising is pretty crap. The sequel, Hannibal, it's Ridley Scott. It's got some interesting moments, but it kind of does its own thing. But Red Dragon, it's directed by my least favorite director, Brett Ratner, but it's based off the actual novel. So the Hannibal series is based off of Red Dragon. It's obviously fleshed out a lot, but there's a lot of characters from the Red Dragon film that do start to show up. So Ed Norton's character. So Edward Norton's character that is Will Graham. So Hugh Dancy's playing him in this show, and you basically see, because at the beginning of the Red Dragon film, you see that they're like, him and Hannibal are like good mates. And so this series, obviously it deviates a bit, but it shows how they became good friends and how initially distrusting Will Graham was of Hannibal, and then they became quite close and that sort of thing. So I'm at episode 4, so I won't mention any of the next 2 episodes, Neil. But yeah, if you guys want something gripping, I won't lie. There's a few bits where it's like early, and you do actually get one of the Blood Eagles, something similar.
Okay.
I've heard about
It's brilliant
Oh,
because he kind of does a Blood Eagle in Silence of the Lambs. You know, when he's escaped from the prison cell,
yeah.
he hangs up like that. Yeah, so you kind of get a similar thing. Yeah, so it's on Prime. I'd highly recommend it. I don't think we'll get a season 4, but Netflix might pick it up, so we'll see.
Anyone else been watching anything new?
No, I've been really boring. I just, I've got withdrawal from Line of Duty, and just nothing compensates.
Nothing else will replace it.
Exactly, yeah.
I've watched more movies this week because I watched The Matrix, my favourite film ever, for my birthday, and then ended up going being like, oh, I want to watch the other 2 now, so I watched the whole trilogy. I still love those. The first one is by far the best one. I used to really like the second one. I think it's got some really good.
I think the first one has that kind of the shock value.
Yeah, it's the way
so well made.
The way the film, it's made really well. The way the film progresses is really good. I really like the way it all glues together. It's really nicely shot, and it's just everything just. But the other 2 have really good moments in them. But overall, especially the third one is very like. It feels very waffly. The third, it's like, here's yes, metaphors, and it's a bit kind of. Oh yes, art love, darling.
And now the Oracle's changed the actor, and he had to find some convoluted reason for why. But we're not really going to explain it.
Gloria Foster does suck. I do hate that, but
just give us a car chase with lots of guns.
Yeah, I really like the action set piece in the second one, but again, the second one is a bit.
Second one's with the twins, isn't it?
Yes, the twins that went to my school. They went to my school. Fun fact.
In the third.
Yeah, the twins from the Matrix went to the same school as me. Not when I was there, obviously, but before I was there.
with the dreadlocks and everything.
Yeah. That's how they look all the time. Yeah.
Always get pulled up with you. You can't wear that in school.
So I do really like the second one because it's got that sort of the Chateau fight is really good, really well done.
Dude, they covered that on one of the VFX Artist Reacts on Corridor.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it's just wire work.
The amount of it that's done practically is incredible. Yeah, the second one, especially for practicality, like how much of it isn't CG, is really good. Which is why I think the third one falls a bit short. Because the last fight in that, although most of it is them, on a rig going, "Ooh," it just looks a bit.
There's that one cool moment though, which is the slow motion punching the fist through the rain.
Yeah,
that is a very cool moment.
Considering when it was made, it's very good.
Yeah, well, they use a lot of photo scans and stuff, so they're not necessarily recreating the lighting. It's just kind of that's why the first one looks really good. It's 1999. Yeah, it's a lot of actual photo scans, and they kind of just 3Dified it, which is why it looks so good. It's a lot of usually why CG looks bad in early 2000s films is because they're actually texturing it and lighting it. And the reason like Jurassic Park looks so good is they knew the limitations, so it's all low-key lighting at a single point. Whereas like you've got the Smith fight, for instance, which is cool, and I love the kind of bowling ball effect and stuff. And if you actually look, there's so many people who don't even look remotely like Hugo Weaving, but it's still very CG. Like you've got Neo's like long coat and stuff that hasn't got a lot. Yes, exactly.
It doesn't hold up particularly well. It is a bit goofy, but it is a very obviously the running on the pole thing is classic. Classic cinema shot. It's been reused in hundreds of things. I just think the first one just has a really good balance of kind of the weirdness of the Matrix with also just looking really clean and just really nicely done. And the other 2 kind of lose that a bit, I think. I do love the mechs in the third one. They've always been my favourite thing, but they're not in it for long enough for it to make the entire film better.
No. Well, also the VFX of the
troll.
Yeah. The swarm of the Sentinels. The VFX of that.
The simulations or whatever they used to make that. Well, it wouldn't have been simulation. We don't know about them, but the sense of like terrifying scale you get from that, like the cloud of it as it like plumes out of the tunnel. Jesus Christ! Really good stuff. So I think the real world stuff in the third one holds up better than the stuff in the Matrix for sure. But just a good series in general. The first one's perfect.
Got one film we watched last night. Have any of you ever seen the film Collateral with Jamie Foxx?
Yes. I
yeah,
love that film so much.
It's got Shadow of the Sun.
Yes,
it?
by good old
Yes!
Slave.
Dude, I was like yelling. I was like proper singing that, and then Molensi just looking at me going,
So good.
All right, mate. I wasn't going to do the screamy bit, but
Bad in that. He's like,
it's so good
It's
though.
fantastic.
Like, that's
Such
it's
a
Michael
good
Mann, isn't it? So Heat and Public Enemies and a couple of other
Yep.
ones like that.
Heat.
Yeah,
Heat's
Heat's amazing.
great, yeah.
Good film.
Yeah.
Al Pacino and
Robert De Niro.
Yeah,
yeah. Together.
But, yeah. Collateral.
Yeah, Collateral's really good. Jamie
That
Foxx
was-
is really good in it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom,
Well, he's also
Cruise
called.
is pretty good. You know?
Tom Cruise is very
Yeah.
good. Isn't he? He plays a completely different character to what he usually plays. It's really
Yeah.
good.
Mm.
One of the funny things is that Jamie Foxx is called Max, and he's also called Max in Amazing Spider-Man 2. And then what was it? Oh, you've got Mark Ruffalo playing the detective going after him. And he plays the exact same character, near enough, in Zodiac as well.
Zodiac, yeah.
So it was like, hang on a second, because he's got that kind of slick back hair. So I thought he was someone else, and there's like, oh wait, no, it's Ruffalo doing it. And then Javier Bardem just casually showing up, and then
I don't remember that.
yeah, he's the Spanish dude who's given all the the hits on people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what? And then Jada Pinkett Smith as well, and I like
Yep.
the way that came back full circle. But I think my favorite bit in the whole thing it's about further way in. It's after Tom Cruise has shot the drunk guys who've been stealing his briefcase or something, and then he does the really accurate assassin thing, and then it's a little bit later in the morgue, and the guy's like, okay, this is someone who knows what they're doing, because it's 2 shots to the sternum, 1 to the head, and then this guy the same thing. It's the exact same shooter with 2 quick. I just always find that bit really interesting.
Yeah.
I actually took inspiration from that from one of my Lego films called, I think it was Infiltration 2, and again the kind of the 2 shots to the chest, 1 to the head thing. Just always distinctly remember that. And yeah, Tom Cruise, he does a damn good job.
That scene where he shoots the guys is incredible. Like the speed at which Tom Cruise acts that out and makes it look convincing is very good.
Yeah.
On a par with old John Wick, I think, for that one. It's just
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, imagine if Vincent met. Oh no, Vincent's on the train, isn't he? So
Yeah, he's dead.
Running around
He's dead.
I thought that they might cut back to it and show that he's gone, but no, he's just. It definitely had vibes of the film Nightcrawler, which loved, by the way. That whole kind of LA kind of.
I love the way it's
crime.
kind of shot with that kind of slightly sickly neon light look.
And it's the interesting thing as well is it's shot with quite an early. It's shot with quite an early Sony digital camera, so they weren't really. I think it's the same one they used for Star Wars Episode 2.
Wow.
All the daytime stuff is shot 35mm, but because obviously 35mm film doesn't do amazingly well in low light, so it can usually only go up to about 500 or 800T, which is like ISO 500. So they were using these digital cameras, and you can really tell because the shutter speed looks all kind of weird, but I think it really works for the grittiness and the kind of. It's almost like you're kind of going along for the ride. So I really do like, because there's no kind of crazy shots in it. It's all very on the ground shooting.
Yeah.
And then the lighting as well, especially in that final bit where he's hunting around Jada Pinkett Smith's office and all the lights have gone off and just a little bit flashing. Dude, like, again, I gotta say, like, I'd forgotten. I'd only seen about 2/3 of the film because I think it was on TV or something. But I gotta say, damn good film that.
Yeah, it's really nicely put together.
So only other thing that I was going to bring up was Marvel put out a video which was a Back to the Movies thing. I don't know if anyone saw it. There was a big kind
So
of.
I watched it even though you mentioned it to me the other week.
Oh, Ellie, you get to see it. It's basically just kind of like look, movies are coming back now. Like we're not just doing Disney Plus shows.
Oh, okay.
So obviously they were promoting. I can't remember the name. Legend of the Ten Rings. Shang-Chi. Is that it?
Yes, that's the one.
And then obviously Spider-Man, and you got a load of. They've confirmed Fantastic Four. Was it Black Panther 2 is going to be Wakanda Forever, so that's exciting.
Ooh.
I'm hoping that we get, maybe Shuri or someone as the new Black Panther. They obviously they can't recast Chadwick. They just they cannot. They just cannot do that. So yeah, it's quite exciting to see. I'm very much because I think me and Elliot we're going to go and see Black Widow in the cinema. So that'll be July, I think. So that'll be something. Be nice to go to the cinema and come back and talk about being in the cinema again. Can't wait for that.
Blimey.
The only other film that don't know much about. Does anyone know much about the film The Eternals?
I know Angelina Jolie.
Not really,
and that's
no.
as far as it goes.
Yeah, it's got Rob Stark in it, and then it's about it. I don't know.
It's
I'm
about some superheroes.
because
Probably.
people keep like hyping it. I'm like, but like they did in Humans, and that was rubbish. Like that was like really like they're retconning it now.
Really?
Uh,
No.
oh yeah, because it was horrendous. But yeah, I'm curious. I don't know what Eternals is about, so I'm curious to see. But I'm not that hyped for it, to be honest.
No.
I was just curious if anyone else was that bothered about it. Maybe it is.
Nope.
Maybe it'll be good.
I
But
think
I'm
the
more
only
interested.
the only film I'm hyped for is the Dune remake. I want to see that so bad.
Yes, same here.
But other than that, anything else is just like okay, cool. Black Widow I'll be looking forward to that. But
Spider-Man is where I'm at.
Anyone seen the David Lynch version?
yes, too many
Oh, God.
times. I think I've seen it like 2 or 3 times, and every time I never quite gel with it. I don't know why.
But it's got something. It's got a style which only David Lynch really can.
It's very
just-
David Lynch for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Very, very odd.
I think
But
it starts off quite strong, but then it just kind of goes very Lynch, and it's a bit kind of like, oh, okay, at the end. I know that's kind of part to the story, but it's just the sort of last, I don't know, 2/3 of it are very weird. Very weird.
David Lynch, isn't it?
Yeah, but the start is really good. The bit where you first see a sandworm eat a harvester, that's really cool. That's really well
Yeah.
done with miniatures and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm just really curious to see what they're going to do with it
yeah,
because
same.
you know the books have a. I've read. I think I've read Dune. I don't think I've read anything else because it was heavy going.
Yeah, yeah.
I read most of it, like Children of Dune, the lead-in books.
Crikey.
Kind of, yeah, because I just got a bit like we do with series. I got into, big space epic,
Weighty stuff, and
yeah, and I would do the whole, then work out the chronology of the books and start with that and then work through.
the film's got to have a certain gravitas to it.
Yeah.
David Lynch is.
It certainly gets across the slightly odd nature of the universe, but I think that's about all it gets across. It's just how strange everything is.
It'll be interesting to see what they
There's
do.
that new series that's either been released or releasing soon, isn't there? I can't remember who it's been done by, but it's a series take on 1 or 2 of the Dune novels.
There's quite a few of those. There's lots of sort of Dune spin-off shows that
Yeah,
come
and
and go over
most
the
of them
years.
are a bit kind of dodgy in some way.
Yeah, this is why I'm hoping the film is like finally a decent representation of the
Is it a
book.
film or is it a series?
The newest thing is a film, but that's been, it was supposed to come out at the end of last year and has been delayed till either this year or next year. And
Last I knew it was October of this year.
yeah,
So
Because I think the last time they tried to, with the David Lynch one, they tried to do too much in one film.
that's
And it's
what
difficult. I mean, Dune is huge. So
yeah, I know that they're splitting Dune this time round into 2 films at least.
Okay.
right.
So we'll see.
Yeah, that's probably a good way of doing it because it is sort of sprawling,
Yeah,
Yeah.
political.
But I have
novel.
fondness, like Dave, for the David Lynch version because it's got some great. I mean, Sting.
it does have Sting in it. I do.
Sting.
The guy who does Baron Harkonnen is just
Baron Harkonnen was a bit almost like comedically
Disgusting.
horrible. Yeah,
horrible. I don't know.
but I quite like that.
I didn't think he had all these really sort of tough people around him. It didn't strike me as a credible sort of head of the Harkonnen thing because he was just a fat guy with.
He was a fat psycho, yeah.
spots.
But yeah, well, he's even referenced in the film. He's the head guy goes. I can't remember his name. Dune King or whatever his name is. Goes, bring in the floating fat man.
And maybe that's how he should be
I
played.
think
But I'd be
the
interested
point-
to see how it's played in the new film.
Yeah, I can't
Harkonnen.
remember who's cast
Yeah.
as Baron Harkonnen. I'm pretty sure it's somebody who would fit that kind of personality. I think, from what I remember, I haven't looked at it for a while. But as far as the cast goes, again, I don't want to sort of say the cast saves the film, but it does look like a solid cast for sure. So
Very interesting.
we'll see.
Yeah.
And also, it looks the part as well visually from the trailers. It looks very
Yeah,
very
they've
good.
got things like the still suits and the kind
Yeah.
of the tech.
'Cause in the other one, all the sandworms, a lot of the sandworm stuff, the sort of long shots, it's all not animatronic, but stop motion or something, Harryhausen type stuff. It's not.
It doesn't hold up particularly well as far as VFX go today, but it was made ages ago, so
Yeah, it kind of works.
At the time, fine, but they've got the technology now to do a far better job on things like that.
It's a bit like Fifth Element. It's one of those films that visually just looks amazing, and there's some great shots and really interesting characters. But it doesn't hold. If you look at it as a whole, it's a mess. It's a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
But it just looks so good. It's just
visually
it's cult status.
Uniquely, and it's got Matey Bub in it, so kind of makes it.
Indeed.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to
with
that.
Matey Bub in it. Gets my. Should we leave it there then?
I think so.
Yeah, let's leave it there. Lest we torture Dan with long editing hours. So.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.